To craft this pot, I'm using a cardboard template that I traced beforehand. Alternatively, I could have used a compass or a taut string to cut my clay slab. Essentially, a flare round pot like this is nothing but a cone base. Or more precisely, it's a truncated cone. If you have some grasp of geometry and know how to draw a developed cone, then you can create a template like this. And if geometry isn't your thing, as always, the template is available for download to all the channel supporters on YouTube or Patreon. This pottery will have a flat shape with a slightly inclined straight wall. Today, I intend to add a touch of flair by curving the wall slightly. However, it's a replica of a pot I had already made back in 2015. You might have come across it if you ever browse my website. A friend recently rediscovered it while browsing the gallery of my past works and asked if I could remake it. So, I'm going to redo it in the same spirit, but aiming to improve my technique. You notice that I'll be building the pot upside down, using the rim as the base. Do you always start your pot the same way? Or do you take the time to consider the best approach for each pot? If you find yourself consistently following the same routine, then you haven't quite absorbed the message from the videos where I stress the importance of preparation and foresight. So, there are two reasons why I begin from the top of the pot. Firstly, with a flared pot, starting the other way around would subject the wall too much to gravity, and under their own weight, they would eventually deform or collapse. By rocking in reverse, the wall is supported by its own weight, akin to a keystone system. Here, gravity works in my favor. Secondly, clay tends to shift a bit, and there's inevitably some deformation between the top and bottom of the pot. If I start with a small base, the rim might end up with more deformation, and it's the most visible part of the pot. If I start the other way around, the deformation will be minimal, and moreover, it will be less noticeable as it's underneath the pot. Here, with the curvature and incline of the wall, I wasn't certain about the angle, so I didn't pre-cut it. I preferred to do it manually. I use a grafting knife. Once again, a repurposed tool unrelated to pottery. I find its sharpness and grip very convenient for this kind of cutting, but a potter's knife would have done the job as well. If your clay is at the right consistency, since it's a small slab, you shouldn't need support to place the bottom of the pot. But if you're unsure, don't hesitate to put something inside the pot to hold the bottom and work with peace of mind. You often see me use these small pieces of chamois leather. With smooth clay, it's more common to use a sponge, but with groggy clay, you have to be careful, because the sponge would bring out the grog by removing clay particles. When smoothing, I press the clay with the chamois leather to embed the grog into the clay, but even so, you shouldn't overdo it. In a previous video, I showed you how to curve a straight wall using a silicone rib. We could easily apply the same method here. Starting from an already inclined pot would offer the opportunity to have curves with more amplitude. You could push the wall from the inside to mark a curve, or from the outside for a completely different look. This conical base might seem simple, but it's just waiting to spark your creativity. It's just a starting point for a multitude of possibilities. Curve one way, or the other, with or without a rim, with a perimeter band or several, with or without feet. It's up to you to be imaginative. And it works with all sorts of basic shapes. You can see that by starting with the assembly of the top of the pottery, the joint between the slabs is pretty neat. It will be very easy to erase the remaining traces and have a fairly clean piece of work. For the same reason as before, I don't use a sponge to smooth and round the rim of my pot. I use this small tool that I made. It allows me to round the rim by pressing the clay, thereby avoiding exposing the grog. One side has a beveled edge, which I use for cutting to remove material, Otherwise, as seen here, I also use it slightly tilted backward to press the grog and smooth the rim. Grog can often be a drawback in construction, but since I prefer not to use a sponge, alternative solutions must be found. Now that the vessel is finished, I'm going to cover it to prevent it from drying out while I'll work on the sculpting feet. This video was more of a technical pottery tutorial. In the next episode, I'll show you how to make the feet, which will be more of a sculpture-focused video. In the meantime, you can watch or rewatch the tutorial on a wall deformation I mentioned earlier in the video.